And now, Podtendo presents Sidequest Cinema.
The ring of power. It has been found. Sauron needs only this ring to enslave the world. It must be destroyed in the fires of Mount Doom. Strangers from distant lands, you will unite or you will fall. You have my sword. And you have my bow. And my axe.
This task was appointed to you, and if you do not find a way, no one will.
The Lord of the Rings, directed by Peter Jackson, rated PG-13, starts December 19th.
Hey guys, welcome back to the roaring campfires that we have sometimes in Canada during the summer. We are Podtendo. I'm Mick, joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Tyson.
And we talk about movies. So we sometimes devolve from our video games, our strenuous video game where we have to go play retro video games. We talk about movies for no reason. This one, a little break, we decided, hey, Lord of the Rings. We have to do a rewatch anyways. Might as well talk about them. So, cool stuff.
Yeah, and I haven't rewatched these in a while. I feel like Lord of the Rings was huge for a while, and then it just slowly petered out. I think because The Hobbit really just left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. We're like, I think I'm done with Lord of the Rings for a bit. So now that Amazon has their owns the right, it's kind of like, it's finally coming back after a big hiatus.
Well, and I think like the length of these films is also very daunting. It's not just throw them on and they're done. Like you could, like in theory, we could like, hey, let's get together, have some drinks, and watch all Star Wars, right? You watch episodes 4, 5, 6, no problem, right? Even let's watch the prequel. But like to do that with Lord of the Rings, you're like, okay, we got to be like ready to go at 8 a.m. Like be up, ready to go, and like we need to be like have lunch planned and dinner planned because like we're still watching these at like 10 at night. Because they're so long, right? So I think because you can't just marathon these like other shows, they're a little bit more daunting to go back and rewatch.
Yeah, and I think also because it's a trilogy and it's a single story arc, as opposed to a lot of trilogies, like even the Star Wars ones. Like you can put on A New Hope. You can't just be like, I'm gonna watch Two Towers real quick.
Yeah,
like it feels weird without Fellowship and Return of the King. So it just doesn't quite work with the binge world, but
binge and rewatchability rating very low. I mean, they're really good movies.
Yeah. And I mean, and then there's the extended editions, and it's like if you get into that, you're like 25 hours of content or some crazy thing. I know it's not, but I like to pretend that it is.
It's like I don't have that much time in a day. Like it's just So there you go. So Lord of the Rings, Fellowship, obviously is where we're starting today. So we're gonna look at just that movie. And kind of roll from there. And then obviously in a month's time, we'll get Two Towers. 2 months' time, Return of the King. Then your Amazon time. So, Our release date was December 9th, 2001. Runtime of this fun movie was 178 minutes. The budget of this film was $93 million. Box office saw, it might have been the whole series. It can't just be this one, can it? $897.7 million. That's a hell of a return. The director here was Peter Jackson, produced by Barry M. Osborne, Peter Jackson, Fran Walsh, and Tim Sanders. The cast. Need a little sip before I do this. This is a big wall of text. We have Elijah Woods, Ian McKellen, Liv Tyler, Viggo Mortensen, Sean Astin, Kate Blanchett, John Rhys-Davies, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, Orlando Bloom, Christopher Lee, Hugo Weaving, Sean Bean, Ian Holm, and Andy Serkis.
Yeah, a ton of talented and still, working actors that are in the industry. A lot of them have kind of got like legendary status out of this.
100%. That's I was going to cut the cast down, but I was like, who do you not include in that list? Like maybe Ian Holm? Right, like his role as Bilbo was kind of like short-lived, but like I don't know, I thought he like deserved a shout out, right? Like he does a good.
And then there's even like a Keith, Carl Urban appearance in the second one.
In the second one, yes, yep,
yeah. So tons of even like sometimes the smaller roles are filled with really good actors, and I think it just goes to show that everybody wanted to be a part of this, and. Actually, yeah, I looked it up. This movie is like 897 million just for this
Just
one
this
alone.
one. All right, there you go. So that was a
So
big
it just shows
return.
how big of a freaking franchise this thing was, because everybody needed to see this in theaters. This is like such a theater movie. Like, you want to watch it up on like a big screen. You want to watch it from start to finish. You don't want all the distractions. You don't want like it. The pacing's really solid and tight,
Which is
and I think
weird also, because I don't know about you, but when these movies were coming out, I definitely was reading the books, right? Like, I know Dad read us probably the first half of Fellowship at some point. I know he definitely did The Hobbit, and I think the first half of Fellowship, and then I don't know kind of what happened there, but we fell off a little bit. But like, it was weird that you kind of knew what was going to happen, right? Like, you could just go buy the books and read them all and know the plot, but it was worth seeing the page brought to the big screen, right? It was the first attempt, and it was this big deal, right? They built these big sets, and it had these big actors and these big characters, and it was all kind of on the big screen, right? So it was more of an experience than just like a story that we were going for. And I think maybe, I wonder if that's why they dealt so much with the practical rather than just like a CGI, like cartoon telling of the story.
Totally. And like, I know Peter Jackson's just freaking amazing. And he really, like, this was him in his prime working on a project that he's passionate about. So everything has a very epic feeling. The set design is immaculate. Anything from the Shire to like Rivendell, it all feels so like otherworldly, and it's just got a really good like vibe to it where it just sucks you in, and it just the atmosphere it creates is like impeccable. The soundtrack's legendary, so it's just you want to hear like the big orchestra like soar when it needs to soar, and it's just like, man, it sucks you in, and it's creepy, but it also has like this big journey like feel, and all these characters are like bigger than life, and they're so memorable. Like, I could go on and on, but
so this movie is what now, 21 years old. So we're recording this year 2022. This came out 2001. The gap does not seem that great. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't seem like there's a 21-year gap from the filmmaking, the level of story that we're kind of seeing, right, that's being shown, versus that you would have had between, let's say, 2001 and like 1980. Like, that gap does seem a lot greater, right, for whatever reason.
Yeah, and it just feels so much more polished. But it's I don't know, it's just got a really good stylistic version. I guess maybe this is, I don't know, are they filming on digital right now? I feel like they're filming on digital.
I don't know, but so a couple sci-fi movies that I'm seeing that came out from the 80s. So The Thing was 1982, so that was a 20-year difference between, say, the work of The Thing and Lord of the Rings. And I want to say, this isn't exactly the list. Like The Shining, I guess, would be an example, right? Would be like the big kind of movie from then that like maybe still holds up today. But the effects from like The Shining to Lord of the Rings seem leaps and bounds versus what they kind of did with Lord of the Rings to like stuff they're doing today. Doesn't seem that crazy, right? Like, the gap has definitely slowed down a little bit with technology. Yeah, they could do more with CGI, but like from a filming point of view, this might be one of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah, and right? I think like a lot has to go with the props and special effects department, but like Peter Jackson is a body horror director. Like, that's where he got that's where he cut his chops. So there's a couple scenes, even like just during the Uruk-hai being birthed, just like it's the actor underneath that like gross skin that they're like wiping all the mud and the muck off of it. It's just a disgusting scene, but it's so well done that it's like, I don't know, like, if like modern practical effects is shot like this. Like, this is like, no, we spent our time and we thought about this methodically, and it's gonna be quick cuts, and you're gonna get a really good view of it, but not too long to like make you like poke the holes in it. It's just enough there to be cinematically effective. It works.
I mean, I think we'll get into it a little bit more, but yeah, like, just even some of the effects of everything is done beautifully. Like, going back and watching Gandalf interact with Frodo on the cart at the beginning, they just made Ian McKellen like sit further ahead on this cart and filmed it, right? And like, knowing that, you go and watch that scene and be like, oh yeah, they're definitely not sitting beside each other. But if you're not looking for it, you can't see it. again, this might be one of the greatest movies ever filmed, if that makes sense. Like, they're filming that masterpiece. It was a lifetime, like everything in cinema basically, I think, led up to this point. And then we see next year with, say, Attack of the Clones, because that's the timeline we're in, by the way. They start relying on like the next, like the digital, the special effects. They start kind of being pushed forward after this point, because I think they've like, oh, Peter Jackson has mastered filmmaking in this one, right? Like, he's used everything in our tool bag to make this big, cool set design. So,
yeah, and I think that they pushed technology where they knew they had to, but they also relied on like the good, reliable, practical effects when they it was like up close and personal. Mm-hmm. Like, it makes you like, there's some scenes where you can just like almost smell how it like what the actors are smelling, because it's just like so visceral. Like, it's such a amazing experience.
Cool. So I guess before we just talk about 10 minutes, we're not even in development details. That's a first, especially unless we're going on some type of stupid rant that like I don't want to listen to later, because it was a boring story that I was telling in our early podcast. Anyways, let's get development details. We kind of dive more into this movie, kind of what we liked, how it works, and go from there. Cool. So, development details. This movie was filmed in New Zealand. Jackson began working on the storyboard in August of 1997. He wanted Middle-earth as plausible and believable as possible, and to think of it in a historic manner. Pre-production and planning continued into 1999. The Fellowship of the Ring makes exclusive use of digital, practical, and makeup special effects. One notable illusion used in almost every scene involves setting a prop scale so that the characters all appear to be the correct height. Fortunately, John Rhys Davies, who played Gimli, happens to be the correct height in proportion to the Hobbit actors, so they didn't need to be filmed separately as their third height variation. For the battle between the Last Alliance and Sauron's forces that began in the film, an elaborate CGI animation system called Massive was developed by Stephen Regalis. It allowed thousands of individual animated characters or agents in the program to act independently. This let the illusion of a realistic battle or the illusion of a realism to the battle sequence. This is all that was on Wikipedia under development details. I assumed there'd be much more, but I don't know, there's lots. There's special editions, there's special features on your DVDs, there's like 5 hours of material, there are like great video essays and stuff like that. We don't need to bore with that kind of stuff.
There's hundreds of DVD variations of releases.
I'm sure there's books written on this movie. Again, like, don't need to bore you. There's some development details as they were. So we can get into any of those stand out for you. You're like, wow.
No, it's about kind of what we expected. Like, it's a mixture of all the tools that we have at our disposal, and we just gotta enjoy Peter Jackson telling us a good story.
Cool. All right, so speaking of stories, I'm going to tell you a terrible story, because this is time for Podtendo's terrible, patented plot summary. All right, let's see how terrible we can make this. Frodo is gifted a magical ring from his uncle during his uncle's birthday party. I wish I got presents during my uncle's birthday parties. His buddy Gandalf discovers that the ring might be evil, checks his sources, confirms it, and forces Frodo and 3 other hobbits to flee the Shire while being pursued by dark riders. Following a meeting of a king, a stabbing, and a river of horses, a fellowship of 9 guys sets off to destroy the ring in Mordor. They are spotted by some crows, get snowed in on a mountain, and are attacked by a giant fire monster under a mountain where Gandalf dies. The remaining party visits some elves, goes canoeing, and is broken up when the Uruk-hais attack and separate the team. Rest in peace, Boromir.
Yep, that's basically the way she goes. Yeah, it's a good little like setup. There's a couple things where you're like, wait a minute, if Gandalf knew about this magic ring and knew about this whole like Sauron thing in The Hobbit, why didn't he investigate this ring way back then? But we don't be poking holes too.
Well, because they didn't know about it.
What? No, I thought Gandalf.
No, but because Saruman doesn't know where it is until he captures Gollum while Gollum's out searching for the ring, right? And he says Shire Baggins. That's like kind of the inciting incident, I suppose, as it were.
Yes.
Right. Which then, because then there's like a dark shadow.
Because maybe we should just get into the storytelling and unpack it a little bit.
All right, so storytelling. So the introduction here is the introduction of the Shire, the Baggins, the initial mystery of the ring. The inciting incident is Gandalf and I guess Gollum revealing the Shire Baggins, and Gandalf tasking Frodo with taking the ring to Rivendell. The rising action then would be the Nazgul chase, the meeting of Aragorn, the forming of the Fellowship, the journey of the Fellowship over the mountain and through Moria, the Balrog chase, and meeting of the elves. And the climax is the ring taking Boromir and the Uruk-hai fight, which means our conclusion is Aragorn. Why can't I say his name? You say it.
Aragorn.
Legolas and Gimli. What the heck? What is wrong with my brain?
Gimli?
Gimli choosing to save Merry and Pippin, Boromir falling, and Frodo and Sam setting off on their own.
Yep. That's okay. You're adding some extra vowels there.
I am. I'm going very much like Tolkien here in like Middle Earth, where I'm just like, oh, Aragorn on. Gimli.
Yeah, just wait till like Return of the King, where they just go on.
I'm so excited to talk about what is their name? Arwen and Arwen.
Yeah.
Who do you think Aragorn should like? Arwen or Aragorn? Or Arwen or Arwen?
Yeah, well, that's like Saruman and Sauron.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, guys.
Tolkien made an amazing world. He created some great, but his like naming was just awful. Who's the bad guy?
Yeah.
I don't know. Saruman?
It's like, wait, is this different than Sauron?
Yes.
Yes.
One's a man. Oh, perfect.
Absolutely. But yeah, pretty cool. And I mean, I guess my only nitpick, like you can nitpick here and there, but honestly, it makes sense. And like even Gandalf, I think it says at some point, like there's many powerful rings in this world.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah.
He
didn't assume it's the one.
100%. And it wasn't until like I think even the book, like 60 years between Bilbo's party and like Frodo lives happily with the ring for something like it's like 45 or 60 years or something like that, and it's not until this kind of like this evil starts kind of spreading out over the world that all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's probably not good. Like maybe we should look into this, right? So
yeah, and it doesn't really convey that passage of time, kind of, because it literally just feels that like
a day
Bilbo just got to Rivendell 100%. And then like Frodo shows up and like, sup, oh, I haven't seen you, how are you?
Yeah, and it's like, there is a part 2, I guess we can just talk about it, where the innkeeper says, oh, Gandalf, I haven't seen him for about 6 months. And there's 2 ways of taking that. Either Gandalf hasn't stayed at that inn in particular for 6 months, or it's been like 6 months that they've been kind of like on this journey or something, you know what I mean? Like, since he kind of passed Frodo. So like there is a greater, like there's like hints almost, it was like greater periods of time. But yeah, like the movie, it seems like this takes place over a weekend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it like, that's the one thing is the passage of time, but how the heck do you display the passage of time besides people like
12
facial hair?
12 days later.
Yeah, or like facial hair. Everybody just slowly starts getting like beards and goatees. But then you have to like,
they've got like weird, like they've got
consistent.
like hipster cuts at some point, and then they've got their hair up in like a ponytail in the next one or something. And you're like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. They just keep like they have a stylist that follows them around and just keeps experimenting on different.
I think it's just one of those things you overlook. Like passage of time in movies is just it's 2 hours, right? Like it could be 12 years, but realistically, it's 2 hours for the audience, right? So one of the things we like to look at when we're telling, I think part of what I actually went back and listened to, because I was kind of nervous to talk about these movies because they seem like they're such big, grandiose tales, right? And I'm like, can we do it justice? And I was like, I mean, we've tackled Back to the Future, which is pretty monumental. We've tackled like, all of Star Wars. And I think we did a pretty good job. But going back, like I definitely laid out in our first Star Wars episode, which is our first Sidequest Cinema, which essentially is the same formats. And like, I'll be honest with you, once I make a format, I just never edit it ever. So, but we storytellers, right? So there's our plot. We tell stories. And then we like to look at the film's overarching theme, right? So theme ties into kind of storytelling. So the themes of Lord of the Rings are corruption. We see that with Boromir and the Uruk-hai, who are just corrupted elves. Power struggles between Sauron, and the heroes. The everyman, right? I think the hobbits make, or Frodo specifically makes a great everyman, right? Like, you give him the ring, and what happens? He becomes Gollum, right? Like, you give the ring to Gandalf, and he becomes this Dark Lord, or like Gladriel takes it, or men take it, and they become these great kings, right? With all this power, and like Frodo becomes Gollum, and you're like, well, that sucks. Like, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. Racism. Good versus evil, temptation and failure. We see that with Boromir and Gandalf and even Galadriel, like I mentioned. And then destiny. So there's a little bit of destiny between kind of Bilbo and Frodo and Smeagol and Aragorn and Gandalf. All those good.
Yeah, and a couple other things just to add on is like friendship is, I think, and like friendship and loyalty are just like this big part throughout this story, and like Bilbo and Sam's Frodo and Sam's relationship is just like it works like I don't know, I was kind of like going into like, well, I was rewatching it, and I know that like, so Gandalf immediately knows that ring is super powerful, so he just doesn't even really want to touch it. Like the whole scene of like him discovering it and then leaving it on the shelf for like Frodo is a really powerful scene, because it's kind of like he knows that he doesn't even want to get tempted with being near it.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I can't let this thing even like touch me because I'm so afraid of what I'll become of it. And then like same with Galadriel, like they almost immediately interact with it and they almost like want to like touch it and like use that power immediately. Whereas then it kind of goes down the line of like, then the next people to kind of get tempted to near the end is like the Boromir and Aragorn are both kind of, and they have their moment of like, I could take this, like I could take this and use this for good, but I just can't. And like, you know, Boromir just like, he, you know, can't resist. But it's interesting that it's like there's like first the like wizards and like really powerful beings, and then it's humans, and then but these two like little hobbits are just like not resistant, but I think that Frodo and Sam's relationship is like very grounding throughout all of it, and that's what kind of like keeps that together.
But I also think too that the gist of those points is the ring wants Gandalf to take it, right? Like it tempts him because it's like, you're so powerful, like you might be more powerful than Sauron, and like the things I can make you do are great. Same with Galadriel, right? Like your guys' powers are comparable to my master's, right? And like men, they're like, I can corrupt you so much that you'll just literally walk up to my master. He looks at the hobbits and he's like, no, I was stuck with that Smeagol guy for like 400 years. I hated him. He was so useless. Like, I think it doesn't corrupt them because like the power that Frodo has, like he's nothing. Like he's got the power of like a 12-year-old boy, right? Like it's like, get out of here.
Well, and I also think that like, so there's like, I was watching the extended edition, and Sam and Bilbo kind of have like this really interesting dynamic where like Sam will do something and Frodo will be like, "Oh, Sam!" Like, like there's the scene where they're, maybe it's in the next one. Anyways,
I was gonna say you might be mixing a little bit with the friendship, because Bilbo and Sam aren't like they're companions, like they're like acquaintances almost. The friendship really starts to build in the next movie, right? Like outside of the scene where Sam is kind of like, he's like, "I'm leaving," and he's like, "Of course you are. I'm coming with you." That's kind of like the formation of this like bigger bond between the two of them, right? That stands out and goes forward and like holds up in the next two films. But it's like before that, they don't really interact much, right? Like he doesn't really take care of him. He's just kind of along for the ride, right? So
no, and like I think like the beginning, you're right. It's just like they're just kind of buddies, and like he kind of gets roped into it, but then you know he feels like obligated to help out because he's like, no, Gandalf said not to lose you, so I'm gonna not lose you.
I'm terrified of the wizard that comes to this village. Like I'm very scared of doing it, and like that's what his like motivation is. He's like, I don't want to get in trouble, right? All right. So let's, with that, now that we know all about themes, talked about all these good stuff, let's get into a review proper, shall we? So we start out with our favorite part of the movie. All right, here we go. Tyson, what is your favorite part of the Fellowship of the Rings?
Well, I think that just there's so many. I listed off a ton at the beginning, like the environment and just like the characters interacting with each other and how it just feels like this whole fantasy world. It's a lot of like lore and like it's dense with like content and details, but it's not so like cut up that you can't follow it. Like it's set up, it's dripped just enough and breadcrumb just enough to have you ask questions and want to know more, but enough that you don't need to know more. Like you don't need to know more with the Balrog. You just know that the giant demon monster is chasing our heroes. Run away.
Well, and that helps too. That like the Balrog is just bad. Gandalf's good. Balrog bad makes the battle really simple, right? There's no shades of gray with that character. He's just a bad thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for myself, favorite part of this movie, I think this one holds up the best in terms of books to screen translation. So if you read the book, it's very similar to this movie. Like, scene for scene, you're like, oh, crazy, cool, right? So I do really enjoy that. I love the opening, introduction of the Shire, but for my money, give me that moment as soon as they fall down the hill that the Nazgul appears, right? And all of a sudden there's this, they start chasing the hobbits. Up until kind of when Frodo wakes up in Rivendell, I just really like that part of the scene. It's dark, it's kind of eerie, right? It's tense, builds the world. The odds seem insurmountable at this point where these little hobbits, what do? Yeah, they meet Aragorn, and you kind of like, or Strider, whatever you want to call him, and they're taking him through the woods, but again, they're being chased, and there's these great shots of the riders just kind of sitting and looking on these paths, right? And they just seem so cool and so scary, and you hate them. You hate the hobbits for like starting that fire, and you're like, what are you guys doing? And there's like these great scenes. Love it. That's probably my favorite part, maybe of all these movies. Again, it's a weird favorite part, but I think I kind of like that, because the rest of the movie is like wonder and fantasy, and this does like horror really well.
It's really good, because I mean, it shows the inner characters dynamic, and it's characters, like the scene's based off like actual characters, not just doing dumb things for dumb's sake. They're hungry, they wanted to make some food, they were going to start a fire like they always do, and just have a thing. The only one that realized they're in immense how much danger they are in is the same one who warns them when they're kind of on the path, like, let's get off the road. What are we doing? When all three of them are just distracted by mushrooms.
It could be, because Frodo has that. They're kind of like,
he's a little like, he gets the sense that danger's literally lurking around the corner, and we need to be really careful. Where the other three are just kind of off on a journey and an adventure, and we're gonna leave the Shire for the first time, kind of thing.
And Frodo probably has that.
Almost like a bros adventure. Yeah. And no, it's like, dude, no, we got to save the world.
Well, Frodo probably has that sense to the darkness, right? Because of the ring. So, like, he's a little bit more sensitive to that. But it also, there's almost a good callback. So when they're having their little fire and they're fake fighting with Boromir before they, like, whatever, the ravens show up, they have a really good part where they destroy their camp instantly, right? And it's the hobbits, and they've kind of, like, they started off with being like, oh, we'll just fry up bacon in the middle of the night, it's fine, to now they can destroy their campsite within seconds, right? So there's a little bit of like weird character development and like hardening of these kind of playful hobbits as the adventure like goes on, and they become a little bit more they have better intuition, right? They even see them when they throw breadcrumbs in the next film, right? So that the Strider can find them when they're being captured. So
oh, totally. And I think that, like, you start out wondering why are Merry and Pippin here? Why is Sam here? Why isn't Frodo just, like, these other bumbling idiots are just being dumb, and they keep, like, literally, they almost get Frodo killed because they expose their position to the Nazguls. But by the end of it, it's like, you know, Merry and Pippin have rallied to be pretty, like, they can handle themselves on a battlefield with, like, orcs and elves and humans and stuff going down, and they actually rally the Ents to join the battle and basically take Isengard out all by themselves. And like, without Sam being there, like, Frodo doesn't make it that last bit. Like, he doesn't have that grounding where he would have given up a long time ago. Like, it's so amazing.
You really jumped ahead in those films, eh? Like, we're already at Ents, and like they're destroying the ring. Holy smoke!
I know, but like, that's my favorite part about this is like these characters grow. Like, this stories about characters, and like, they actually have, and everybody's seen this. Like, I mean, if you're listening to a podcast about Lord of the Rings, you're not gonna be like, I can't wait to find out what happens next. It's like, you know what happens next. It's
all right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
cool.
Been out for 20 some odd years.
Go watch it. It's pretty good. All right, so most notable scene or part of the movie. So this category at some point, I'm not sure what it was, but I think it's the part where you talk about what's the most, like, you haven't seen this, let's say, for 5 years, and you're like, oh, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship. What's the part you're going to talk about the most, right? Stands out, kind of stays with you. Maybe not the best part, but it stays with you, right? Maybe it's boring. So this movie basically is a meme at this point, right? It's as ingrained in society as almost any film, more than likely, especially in the last 20 years. So all of our contenders, we've got the Hobbiton party, right? We've got the 111th birthday, Bilbo leaving, and he says, why shouldn't I keep it? It's mine. I have a funny meme of him holding like one of those old charge cords for your old like cell phones, like your Razor or something like that. And I'm like, that's kind of funny because I do that. The Black Rider chasing the hobbits, right? Aragorn's introduction. Arwen's chase, and really the only thing that she does in any of these movies. Gandalf saying, I was delayed. And I don't know if you've seen that meme, but there's like a video where Frodo asks him and he's like, I was delayed, and then all of a sudden it flashes back and it's just Gandalf at this like, or this guy dressed up as Gandalf with these flaming things at this rave and this like crazy music's going on.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Like every couple of weeks I watch that. I was like, I was delayed. I think that's the funniest thing. So in my headcanon, he wasn't enslaved and like captured in Isengard. He was actually at this cool rave. The council at Rivendell. Pippin knocking the skeleton and bucket down the well. Like, if you're watching this and that doesn't make you chuckle, like, comedic timing, phenomenal. No one throws a dwarf. The Balrog chase and the fights. Galadriel's evil turn. Sean Bean dying in this movie, which is the second time he's died in a movie that we reviewed this year. That's kind of cool, right?
That's amazing. I'm so happy. We need a Sean Bean counter. Like, he's shown up twice and he's died twice.
Yeah, we killed him twice in this year alone. Also, shout out to John Rhys Davies, who I also believe is in GoldenEye.
He is. Oh my goodness. This has got a GoldenEye reunion all over again. Where's Pierce Brosnan?
I think he's a centaur in the Percy Jackson movie, so he didn't quite make the cut into this film.
He didn't make it to the A-list.
No.
He made it to the B-list party.
I'm here. I don't do a very good Pierce Brosnan, obviously. Thank you. Sorry, I apologize. I be very polite. I'm here for my fantasy movie. Yeah, you're in the Percy Jackson film. Sorry, buddy. It's like, oh, that's a bother.
Ever since Die Another Day.
Yeah.
It's all been Die Another Day's fault.
Stupid Die Another Day. And then my final one is the shadow effect when Frodo turns invisible. So what's the most notable scene of this movie?
I think it's the Balrog chase and fight, but that whole like they got a cave troll. Mm-hmm. That fight up until like them running away and getting surrounded.
The whole
by
Mines
goblins.
of Moria is pretty epic. Like, it has like the dark quiet spots. It's got a golem appearance, right? Yeah, that's pretty good.
Oh, and it's terrifying. Like, you're running into the darkness, and then all of a sudden you're surrounded by enemies and goblins, and the only reason they're not attacking because a bloody Balrog wakes up, and you're like, well, this sucks.
Well, it's similar to The Hobbit, right? If you were to look at The Hobbit, there's kind of little adventures kind of sprinkled throughout that adventure, and like one of the better parts is when they're in the Goblin and meet the Goblin King, and then they have to like have the riddles in the dark, and then they come out the other side, right? So like Tolkien does a really nice adventure in a mountain or in a cave section of his adventure.
Oh yeah, and there's something just creepy about going into like a cave and then just keep going and going, and you go deeper, and it's just like walking into darkness, and you're only going to come across scary things.
I mean, the Legend of Zelda essentially exists because of that very same premise, right? Like, if there was a cave, what if you explored? What would be inside, right? That's essentially what Zelda is, right? So it's great for fantasy, right? Like, you got to love it yourself a good cave. Anything could be down there, right? We don't know. There you go. My favorite. All right, so you're gonna go that part. There's another I just thought of. There's so many parts. Like that part where
this entire movie.
Yeah, where Aragorn's fighting like the lead Uruk-hai guy, and he like stabs him, and the guy just grabs a sword and like pushes it deeper and yells at him, and then he kind of pulls it out and lobs his head off. That's a really badass fight scene. And, and like I forgot it was from this film. It was like a while later. I was like, I remember there was this really cool fight scene where the guy like grabs a sword and like stabs it into him more, and I was like, what was that? And it took me a little while to find it, but I was like, really, Lord of the Rings? But it holds up like really, really well. Most notable scene? Nah, for the amount of times I watch it, it's Gandalf's I was delayed. That's like I probably up to like 10,000 views just on myself of that episode.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. But you know what? That's like this whole movie is just memeable at this point. Like it's so funny.
Oh, and it's like so ingrained, right? Like even the part where Bilbo becomes that little like Schmeagol puppet when he goes to get the ring from Bilbo, and he's like, he's like,
yeah,
scary.
Or the like, and my axe, and my bow. It's like they have a whole like that scene's so funny.
Oh, it is great. Yeah, and like you just want to add like other stuff, like where's Captain? Like my shield. Get out of here, Captain America. Guys.
Yeah, it's like
Chris Evans. Get back to not another teen movie. You're not that popular yet. He's like, oh man.
Like, you have to go do the Fantastic Four movies.
Yes.
Both of them. It's like, oh, man.
This sucks. All right, so we've had a lot of fun on that one. And what do you want us to do? Sit here and tell you the whole movie? It's good. Great. Go watch it. You've seen it. All right, so least favorite part of the movie. So we have to be a little bit negative here on our next 2 points. Oh, my gosh. So this is not so negative. But I absolutely love the effect they put on everything when Frodo goes invisible. It's almost like they kind of like paint everything, and it's this kind of like flowing paint and everything. The edges are kind of off, and I think it's supposed to portray like the shadow realm that he goes into. However, it looks so scary. Why would you ever use the ring? I would never use it. It'd be too terrifying. You do that, all of a sudden everything's like blowing and like big eyes come and look at you. It's far too terrifying. I don't know. I just imagine that the ring, like, you put it on and you just walk around normally, but you're in this weird hellscape. It sounds awful.
Yeah. It's definitely for the cinematic effect. Because, I mean, could you imagine Bilbo being like, I love going to this place. It's a fun place to hang out. I do this. I run in here and play for pranks. And you're like,
yeah, like,
sir, we need to get you to a therapist.
Like, maybe it has something to do with like how powerful the Dark Lord's powers have.
I 100% think so.
That's what it is. So like, if you watch The Hobbit when he goes invisible, do they have the similar effects?
No, but like, even so, I think even during the extended edition, you see the one king that cuts off Sauron's hand.
Yeah.
When he gets jumped, he puts on the ring to escape, and it's just basically like a regular world. So, and then it like slips off his ring and exposes him as he's like trying to swim down to grab the ring. He just gets in the back, like
arrows in the back.
With arrows. Yeah. But like, I don't remember seeing that effect at all when I watched that scene.
Okay. So there's some tie. I mean, again, beautiful effect. I love it. It's absolutely crazy. It just like seems far too scary for this type of thing. So I was like, why are you doing this? So what's your least favorite part of this movie?
Geez, I don't know if I have a least favorite part. Like, I really like everybody to a point where I even enjoy the extended edition. Like, some of the extended edition scenes are not finished or not like clearly the final edition that would be produced. That's why they got cut, because they're pretty like, there's some bad green screen effects going on here. But yeah, I don't know. I like it. Like, maybe Erwin's, she shows up, and like that's basically it. Yeah. Like, her and Aragorn's relationship should be like, these two should be like long lost. Like they should be passionate and only like in love with each other. I get that they like. Yeah. Like, hey, you're cute too. And then it's like, oh, I'm gonna wax poetically about how I could spend the rest of my life with you.
That's a problematic part of the world where women are seen as love objects, right? And beautiful and precious items. And that was Tolkien. Tolkien didn't really write women well, right? You're not going to see a lot. So the fact they gave her something to do is, it's a thing, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't mind it at all. Yeah. It just like
it is just weird that she's like third on the billing. Or, yes, what I mean. Yeah, like, you're right. If they would have given her this, she should have something to do in every single movie, as opposed to, like, my comment of, like, she does nothing else. She just stands there and she's like, oh, I'm pretty. Like, oh, okay, all right. Cool, man. Yeah. All right, and, like, the fact she's, like, third billing, like, when I read through the list, I was like, Liv Tyler. All right, I'll rate her down third, but I don't know if she deserves it. All right, finally, how about a criticism? Last negative thing before we get into the praise, then we'll get out. So, this is nothing, no shade at the movie, obviously. The lack of faith that this property got. So, initially, when they went to make this film, Peter Jackson was given one movie. You can tell Lord of the Rings, but you got one film to do it in. And then they were like, all right, you know what? Let's give you a 2. But like, the fact they didn't greenlight this film off the start, like, the world of cinema would be completely different. We would have no series. Like, we would be missing out on some giant blockbuster things if it wasn't really for Harry Potter and this film that were both kind of made at the same time and greenlit to like go make all the films right off the start. Think of how many like book series movies don't go anywhere because they kind of like, oh, make one, and if it's successful, we'll come back to it. We'll get the actors and like the directors back in, but they're usually moved on and they usually suck. And it's just kind of baffling that Lord of the Rings exists and executives still don't trust audiences to care about franchises, right? It would seem simple. Oh, there's 12 books. Buy that. Start making them right now. Let's make the first like 6. Don't even worry about it, because by the 6th one, it's going to be such a big cash grab. Everyone's going to want to talk about it. It's going to pay for the shortcomings of the first like 2 or 3. But anyways, that's my criticism is screw you, movie executives.
No, that's fair. And I think this like because of this was such a huge success. Like you think, like over 20 years ago, this thing basically made $1 billion, which is on 100K, like, or 100 million. Like that's nuts. So like this started the trend of like the whole like based on the book and let's tell the tale of the whole book franchise. But like, because even think of like some of the most successful movies up until this point, like even Jurassic Park. There's books, other books, but they didn't do that. They were like, we're just doing the first one, then we're gonna, tack on some other stories, and take bits and pieces. Where it's like, well, I mean, this was kind of that thing that was like, no, if there's a series of books, just tell the series of books from start to finish.
I guess it is tough though to find a cast that is willing to do like years worth of movies and stuff and filming, and like a director that wants to be like, this is all you're going to do for like 7 years of your life, right? So I guess I kind of understand it from like a human resource point of view, but it's still strange. Anyways, criticism for yourself.
I think, I can't really think of an honest to fair criticism. Yeah, it's for a first one in the franchise. Like I love this one. This is one of the ones that I think I've seen more than the other two. I wasn't super crazy on the Two Towers because like the Legolas, he's like surfing around scenes really take me out of the movie franchise. And this has the least amount of that shenanigans. So everybody's still a badass. Action scenes are still like really tight. It's good. I enjoy it.
All right, sweet. And then finally a praise. So let's see what I have to say. So that this movie was made before the over-reliance on CGI took over. Everything, I think, still holds up today, like we were saying. But it's 21 years old. You watch this movie, it was made 21 years ago. I don't think it looks horrific by any means. Like, it still looks super clean. Everything, you're like, oh, I get it. There's an actor standing on a set. What a thing. So, I mean... the sets are beautiful. The actors have something to work against. I preach it all the time on the podcast. Practical holds up so much better than CGI. Versus, look at this compared to Attack of the Clones, and you're like, I hate this. Like, I hate Attack of the Clones just based on like the aesthetics of it, right? Like, I don't know. So that's just my final praise. They obviously took their time. It gets even crazier in the next one. They built Helm's Deep. They built this giant castle for these guys to fight in. Like, really, really cool stuff that we've got to look forward to coming forward. So what's your final praise of this film?
I just love the cinematography of this. Like, it's a gorgeous movie. Every shot, like all the set design, all the framing, and just it makes it so, like, even the pacing of this. So the editing and just like the cinematography are just like so amazing. But I can't speak more highly than the actual soundtrack. Like, hearing those big sweeping scores, it's just so nice. Like, it just sweeps you away on a fantasy adventure, and you play Dungeons and Dragons,
you throw this on in the background, you go on an epic adventure, right? Like, something hits and you're like, holy smokes, this is a big deal, right? Like, oh, it like revolutionized that game. And like the score, soundtrack, again, pinnacle of filmmaking, right?
Oh, totally. And even some scenes, like, how do you film these big action scenes and have it like not be all crazy quick cuts, but still have a good like feel that, like, these characters are in danger and there's not just people just literally standing around waiting to jump in. Like, even in bloody modern, like, what was it, Last Jedi, or like they're the like army guards are just standing or fall over for no bloody good reason. And it's like, here's a movie that got like the choreography correct and nailed how to film the choreography, and it doesn't linger too long, keeps moving, and just makes you want to just like get more and more and more, and can't wait for the next one. So I think I'm probably gonna go watch the Two Towers after this.
All right, I'm going to wait, because we might have only been recording this, like, 2 months early. And I was like, well, maybe I'll wait a little bit so that, like, or, like, whenever we decide to record next, I'll have it ready for then. But, yeah, that ends our review on Fellowship of the Ring, start of the summer of Lord of the Rings. Good stuff, good stuff. Although it always makes me want to buy, like, swords and, like, cool rings to wear. Luckily, I've, like, bought those over the years, so I can just go downstairs and, like, put on a ring and, like, walk around with my sword. And I was like, I'm cool.
Yeah, and the safety of your own home.
Like, run upstairs and like, my wife's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm playing Lord of the Rings. And then I ran to the backyard and she's like, Why am I married to a child? Like, what's going on?
What did I see in this?
Yeah, I don't know. Something's there.
It's like, too bad, rings on my finger, run around with a sword.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's better than when I watch Pirates of the Caribbean and I was like this wood structure in my backyard. I put ropes on it and I swing back and forth. And I'm like, what have you done with me, ship?
And you're just constantly drunk on rum.
Yeah. So it's I don't know.
And then when all the rum's gone and you're hungover, you just keep saying that one line.
Yeah. That's, it has its ups and downs. So there you go. So cool. So that's Lord of the Rings. We have some stuff on the back end. I got a theory. I've got the Wayback Machine, and we got a cultural significance. And we're playing a game. Tyson gets to play a game. So if you stick around for the end of the podcast after, I say this is a disclaimer for myself in the future. So if I come back and listen, I'm like, you can leave now. We're just doing boring stuff after this.
Hey, it's not so bad.
No, it's all right. It's all right. But yeah, like definitely the Star Wars one. Sometimes I just listen to our reviews, and I'm like, I'll just skip ahead to the next one. So there you go. So a final, are you buying it? So our fan theory. So when Gandalf says, "Fly, you fools," before dropping into the darkness, he literally means fly. Fly on eagles. Like, go to the other side, contact the eagles, fly there, you fools.
Yeah, see, but storyboat journey, not destination.
Yeah, there you go. All right, cool. So then how about, now we have to know so that's it. So we're done that. We can get back into Podtendo mode. Like sometimes we say we're a pop culture-y, let's play review retrospective show. So we're going to do pop culture-y stuff. Were you alive in 2001? Because I was.
Yep.
Cool. Let's find out what was going on. That means we probably were alive at some point. So we're going to jump into our patented Wayback Machine, and that's the age-old question. Do we want to live here? So December 19th, 2001, end of the year. Let's see what's going on. So we're going to start by asking Tyson, what's your favorite show? Is it The Simpsons, Season 12, Episode 8, Sinners, Skinner's Sense of Snow? Skinner doesn't call for a snow day for Springfield Elementary, which causes a snow-in and a failed rescue attempt. I wonder how many gorillas died in this blizzard.
Definitely one or two.
Yeah, probably a couple. All right, a couple. All right, that joke did not hit as well the second time. Damn it. All right, we'll try it in the future. Or Reboot, Season 4, My Two Bobs, which is Episode 4, but Season 4 was just kind of made up of movies. Anyways, so it's the fourth part, final episode of Reboot. Crunching Binome, Hidden Virus, Crouching Binome, Hidden Virus. With Megabyte, now a shape-shifting Trojan horse virus, Bob, Dot, and the others attempt to track him down and capture him. However, Megabyte tricks them and seizes control of the principal office and swears revenge in the form of a predatory hunt. The series concluded with a cliffhanger. So of those two shows, Tyson, what would you rather watch?
Ooh, this is tricky because I do enjoy me some Reboot, so I'm gonna actually go with Reboot here. But it's an okay episode of The Simpsons. I think they get it's all right. It's just nothing special, and I think they dump salt to solve the problem or whatever. But the Reboot one makes you literally Bob gets shot off into the internet, and you're just like, but how's he gonna save everybody from Megabyte? It's like, well, tune in next time, and I don't think that there is a next time.
Yeah.
No, I think that it comes up in the movie or whatever.
No, this is the end.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I think that they address it because there's a movie with old Enzo and everything.
Yeah, this is it. This is it ends. This is the end. This is the end of that movie.
Oh.
I think they kept being told they may not be come back, and the show ran for years and years, and they just kept having random. They were like, oh, maybe we'll get another one, and they've just never went back to this franchise. So yeah.
No, I think that there is one thing.
Oh, maybe there is a movie. Anyways, it's
it doesn't matter.
There's a really good retrospective I watched on YouTube on this and Beast Wars, Beast Machines, where a guy goes and breaks down episodes and the troubles behind the scenes. I think it's fascinating. I'd recommend watch one of those if you're interested. But yeah. Anyways, good job. Are you done with your spiel? Can I play the song?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, monkeys, cue it up. Hit the play button. Good job, Reboot.
Systems, peoples, and cities to this place. Mainframe. My format, Guardian. To mend and defend. To defend my newfound friends, their hopes and dreams. To defend them from their enemies.
First fully CGI television show made by a Canadian company, Mainframe Entertainment. There you go.
you know what? It's a solid time. So it's I like, but I mean, I grew up with this stuff, so nostalgia glasses are everywhere. But I like these early CGI models and characters were actually really well done. Like I still can't believe they pulled this off.
They apparently
Like,
also
this would be hard with like. Yeah.
They apparently this company, this little Canadian company called Mainframe Entertainment, also worked with another little known company at the time called IMAX. Yes, IMAX, the company that runs in every theater in the whole world now. Little Canadian company that started that were just like, what if we took like cool shots and they got a really big screen? And now they're like probably super rich. So kind of cool, right?
Oh, yeah. You got to think because like that's the premiere. Like when big movies drop, they're like, hey, it's coming to IMAX.
Yeah.
So.
I was like, huh, cool. Go Canada. All right. So other top TV shows we could be watching because they're like, I don't want to watch those shows. You could watch 6 Feet Under, Alias, Scrubs, Enterprise, or Smallville. So somebody save me because I don't want to watch those.
Yes.
I want to watch some cartoons because I'm a child. All right. And because I play Lord of the Rings in my backyard. I'm like in my 30s. So of course I want to watch cartoons. I go watch Samurai Jack, Fairly Odd Parents, House of Mouse, Justice League, and Total Spies.
Justice League, I'm in. I know Mick could care less, but like, you know, Samurai Jack's there. It's a good show.
Yeah, there's stuff there. There's stuff to sink teeth into. Fairly Odd Parents was just never satisfying. Like if you're gonna watch a Nickelodeon, like probably watch SpongeBob instead.
Oh, for sure. Like Fairly Odd Parents is like it's like it will like it's like salt. You know,
Yeah.
It's never satiating.
Yeah.
You're like this is all right, but it's never like doesn't scratch that itch.
Makes it bloated. Kills slugs. Fairly Odd Parents does everything. All right, so top movies. Maybe you're like, I don't really care about this stuff at home. I want to see what's on the big screen. I just watched Lord of the Rings, and also, funny story about Lord of the Rings. This may be a good time to tell it. There was these people that like lived on a ranch, and they were all like foreign people, and they were from, I don't know, like France, Switzerland, and stuff like that. And apparently a large group of them went to watch Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. And at the end, it just ends with like them walking over the mountains and stuff. And they were so pissed off because they thought it was the whole story. They went and complained. They got 2 free movie tickets each. So imagine you're working with these Frenchmen and you have all these, there's like 12 of them and you have 12 free movie tickets. And you're like, man, what other kind of cool movies could I watch? Look how I tied this back around. Still in theaters, you could watch Vanilla Sky, Not Another Teen Movie, Ocean's 11, and Spy Game. Okay.
Sorry.
And if you waited literally the next week, I was like, man, they must have like cleared out Lord of the Rings. Like nothing went up against it. We get Beautiful Mind, Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, Ali, Black Hawk Down, Kate and Leopold, Gosford Park, and Monsters Ball. Man, that's a jam-packed December.
Yeah, that's like, I was going to say, like, what is this? Like, usually these are like summer blockbusters all crammed in one. It's like, nah, December, we're just going to dump everything.
Like, there's a lot of quality content here. So, like,
like Black Hawk Down, that's amazing. Like, Ali's amazing. Beautiful Mind's really good. Monsters Ball's fantastic. Not Another Teen Movie's pretty good. Like, Vanilla Sky's good. Ocean's 11's good. Spy Game's good. Caitlin Leopold's
if your girlfriend, significant other, friend was like, let's watch a chick flick, and you throw in Kate and Leopold, it is probably the least offensive of all the chick flicks. It's like, it's got time travel, you get Hugh Jackman, like, it's not.
Oh, well, then you're set. You're golden.
Like,
you got Hugh Jackman to carry you through.
And like, he jumps off a bridge or something, and he like travels in time, and like, yeah, I don't know, I think it's probably all right. Now, Gosford Park, I heard it described on a podcast a couple weeks ago as like a cool murder mystery down like Downton Abbey style in this like country manor out in this like countryside over this weekend. It was awful. Absolutely awful experience. Never watch Gosford Park. If you see it, burn your television rather than watching this awful show.
Oh yeah, no, this just looks dreadful. Like, this looks like a bunch of stuck up garbage that goes on for probably way too long.
A murder mystery in set in Victorian England could be interesting, but like it's just not. Anyway, so don't watch Gosford Park.
Yep, no, skip that one.
All right. How about top video games? Because you're multi-talented. You can watch movies with your free movie passes. Maybe you sell them and you get some money, and you're like, I'm gonna go buy me a video game.
I would just save those for like Lord of the Rings. Like, finish the trilogy.
Yeah.
You've watched the first one. You got your money
but
back.
it's not for another year.
That's true.
All right. Okay. So then, top video games that could be coming out. So we got Game Boy Advance, Breath of Fire, Pikmin, Super Smash Brothers Melee, Jak and Dexter's The Precursor's Legacy, Mega Man X6, Final Fantasy X, Silent Hill 2, and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Wow, I've played like all these games.
That's a pretty good lineup of games.
I definitely am playing Jak and Daxter right now, running around, enjoying the PS2.
Wow, look how great this Final Fantasy is. It's got they talk in the cutscenes.
I bet you it's not just a linear hallway.
Wow.
This character's got spiky hair, and they played a metal song during the intro, so it's clearly good.
Pretty cool. Oh man, I mean, I guess we still have to get through Final Fantasy 9 before 10 comes to us. So.
Oh, I'm so thankful.
And we could we could always leg this out and just never get to it if we just like play Final Fantasy 2, 4, and 5 or.
Oh, you know, as motivated as I am to
2,
get
3,
to 10.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sure I'll shoehorn something else in there.
This isn't looking terrible, right? Like you still get to look forward to all of them coming out. There's decent TV shows. Let's see if the Billboard songs, the music, can draw us back into this time. So the top 3 songs according to the Billboard charts for December 19th, 2001. The number 3 song is "Family Affair" by Mary J. Oh, all right.
That's sick. That means that Undercover Brother's right around the corner for being released. Because Chris Kattan has to dance to that song.
That's how it works. Yeah. Yeah, I think probably comes out a couple months. I think around like 20 years ago, Undercover Brother came out. So, you can watch it at anniversary. But the number 2 song is "You Got It Bad" by Usher. Still, that's a banger song too. That's pretty good.
Oh yeah, this is prime Usher. This is right when he was like one of the biggest artists in the world. So
it's not bad. That's not bad. All right, and then the number 1 song, the most popular song, the song you definitely were listening to at this point in your life. So now you can always remember that Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and this song are intertwined in your brain. Isn't that great? There's a big pause. I don't think Tyson's that impressed that I included this. So the number 1 song, according to the Billboard charts, rocking the charts, is the birth of one of the greatest rock bands of all time, people. It's "How You Remind Me" by Nickelback.
how dare you? How dare you tie Nickelback to Lord of the Rings, you monster!
For eternity.
Oh, that's so funny.
So you want to know the worst part about this? You want to know how much of a monster I actually am?
Oh, I don't even... did you put a Nickelback song with every Lord of the Rings notes?
No, I should have, and I might. Dude, that's a great idea. Thank you for reminding me of that. No, I don't think this actually charted to number 1 the way in my system till technically the 22nd. So I skipped it ahead. So technically we didn't have to hear Nickelback, but I was like, well, it's also kind of funny if we listen to Nickelback.
It's like you would. That's so funny.
I am history's greatest monster, so.
Yes.
Jimmy Carter. Yeah, I took him over, so there you go.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Right.
But now then I put the Nickelback in every episode, bugger near, so I think I've doomed us all.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, there's pumping out hits every time. We get a rock star, be a rock star. And then finally, so now we know that it's not a terrible time. I remember being alive. Am I going to go back to it? I don't know. I feel like we were still living in a lot of fear at this point, so maybe in the next one?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, cool. So finally, we have a cultural significance, a game for Tyson to play, no less, because not only do I want Tyson's success, Nickelback, and Fellowship to be synonymous in your brains for the rest of your time after listening to this podcast. So cultural significance of this film. For this section, as we journey through this film series, we're going to look at books to movies, the game, Franchise Edition Family Fun Game. Ready? Did you catch that? All right. So the game that Tyson is going to be playing today, I'll read it again. So next we're going to look at historical non-fiction famous characters, and finally we're going to look at special editions / extra contents and / behind the scenes material on DVD releases. All right. So again, today we're going to play a game. I'm
excited.
All right. So we're going to play. It's called Books to Movies, the game, Franchise Edition, Family Fun Game. Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So I'm going to list a book series, and Tyson has to guess over under I'll give him a number. How many books are in that series? All right. So I'm going to tell you a movie series. I'm going to tell you how many movies are in that series. I'm going to give you an over under number, and then you have to decide how many books are there. All right. It's going to be a best of 7. So you have to get 4 correct. And actually, there's a bonus one too. So best of 7, you need 4 correct answers to win. There we go. I mean, really, it's 50-50 chance. So that's how probability works. Yes or no?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, I got this.
All
I
right.
got this. I see a couple on the list. I think I got.
Yeah. So for example, there are 12 books that feature Middle Earth or discuss its history, but there's only 6 movies. So I might say like 6.5, or I might say like 10.5, and Tyson would have to decide, is there more or less than that number? All right. So number 1, Dune. There are 2 Dune movies. So we have the 2001 miniseries doesn't count. It's a miniseries, not a movies. So there are 2 current Dune movies. Over under 7.5 books in total.
See, I think that I know that there's over but if you count just the original author before he passed away and left the series off to his son to continue off with another writer, like I think if you count those, they're up to like 12 or so.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure the original author maybe only wrote 6 books, because it kind of gets muddied after. I have the first 3. I don't have anything past that. So you know what? I'm going to say under for just the original author.
Ooh. So when I typed in Dune series, I got 8 books. So that is an X. Tyson did not get that one.
Shoot.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, that's a tough one. Number 2, though, is we look at Harry Potter. There are 8 movies. Over under 7.5 books?
Just the Harry Potter series, because again, we get into that, like, does the childish blah 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 whatever count? But I'm going to say under, because I think it's 7.
It is
because I know that
books,
it's the part 1, part 2.
Yeah,
and
like
the last
technically
one, so.
she wrote like a Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find It, which was supposed to be like kind of a little play, and it became a movie series, but like 8 movies. We'll just something called Harry Potter. All right, so there you go. Ding ding ding. Tyson's 1-1. All right, so Divergent. There are 3 movies. Over under 5.5 books in the Divergent series.
I want to say that it's under, because I think that they ended the Divergent series early because no one cared after a while, so they didn't finish it. Maybe.
Yeah, that's.
I want to say it's under 5.5.
There you go. We have 5. I've written down 5. So ding ding ding. 2-1. Tyson's only 2 more sweet victories, and he becomes the champion of the. I'll read the name of the game at the end, not to say it again.
Next ones are kind of hard, so.
All right. So number 4, Maze Runner. There are 3 movies. Over under 8.5 books.
There's no way that there's 9 books of the stupid Maze Runner, but because it's such a ridiculous number, it just makes me like, is there this whole other franchise that they've just really been milking? Logically, I want to say that there can't be like 9 of these books, but because that number's so ridiculous, I'm gonna say over.
I should have made it lower. That's weird. All right, yeah, it is over. In fact, there's 10 books in the Maze Runner series.
Oh, my goodness,
yeah.
that is bonkers. That's unnecessary.
That is so. And it's like kind of an interesting world, but it's like kind of not, and like I'm kind of.
It's an interesting like world for like 2-3 books max, but to get
I
to
think
like,
it's a cool world. It's just like the characters in it are fucking dumb as. Like I would take like this is what happens and like explain it to me in like a 20-minute video, and I'm like neat, but like yeah, that is ridiculous. So 10, there you go. All right, so Tyson, ding ding ding, 3-1. He just needs one more right answer. He's not going to get a clean slate because of stupid Dune. No one likes you, Dune. Get out of here. Go sit in your corner. But number 5, everyone loves the Jack Ryan series. All right, so there are 5 movies. Over under 10.5 books.
Ooh, Ooh, see, this is tricky because I know even stuff like Hunt for Red October counts. And then there's like this whole, like Tom Clancy wrote a pile of books. You know what? I'm gonna take the over just because I feel like this franchise, like there's so many. There's probably like a bunch that aren't even made on top of the ones that I know of. So yeah, let's go with over.
Pew, pew, pew. At 15 books. There are 15 books in the Tom Clancy Jack Ryan series. Movies, specifically, like Tyson was alluding to, Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger. Both of those had Harrison Ford. They then had The Sum of All Fears, where Jack Ryan is now Ben Affleck, and then finally Jack Ryan Shadow something. Shadow Recruit.
With Chris Pratt.
Chris Pine?
Chris Pine,
He's a
yes.
Pine.
Chris Pratt's the guy from Guardians.
Yes, all right. Okay. There we go. Ding, ding, ding. Tyson got it. Pew, pew, pew. 4-1. Can he get... Wait, is that right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. So you could, in theory, still get 7 wins. And we'll see if the bonus can make up for Dune. All right. So, number 6, we have the Twilight series. There are 5 movies. Over, under 5.5 books?
I think it's under because I think I remember seeing those collections and they had 4 books in them.
All right.
But I could be wrong. I'm gonna say it's probably 4 or 5 maybe. So under for sure.
Ding ding ding! There we go. The kid's got it. He's got his 5-1, his 5th victory. There are 5 books, 5 movies.
It's almost like I spent a lot of time in bookstores.
Yeah, there you go. But I kind of feel like Twilight. There's like one of the movies is like Part Dawn Part 1, and the other one's like Part Dawn Part 2. So how is there 5 books? I don't know. I didn't look that far into it. I just was like, all right, cool. How about number 7? The final series, Percy Jackson. There are 2 movies. Over, under 3.5 books.
Ooh. I know that Percy Jackson is actually like a bigger franchise. Like you were big into the books and stuff, and you were like, don't watch those terrible movies because they did a god awful job with it. Yeah. I know it even got rebooted. So they're redoing it and with new characters and everything. I want to say over. I think that I think this is a big franchise. I think there's got to be at least 5 or 4 or 5 of these books.
Jason is dialed in. He's got it. He got it. Ding ding ding. That's 6-1. That's a 6th victory. There are 5 books in just the Percy Jackson series. And if you look at the Olympians, so it's Percy Jackson and the Olympians, I believe there's like another series of like 7 or 8 books or something like that, where like Percy comes back, but they like, I don't know. I think terrible things happen to him. He like saves the world, and then the next one he's just discarded, and he like goes to hell, and he's stuck in hell for like the next series. I don't know.
Jeez. Well, I heard that they were like a little bit darker than like the Disney one or whatever the heck it is. They really dressed it up, and they took out all the impactful stuff because.
I mean, the movies are just
the Greek world's pretty dark as it is. So to adapt that and make it super kid friendly is just so silly. Like that works good for Hercules, not good for other things.
Yeah. All right. And then finally, bonus. So Tyson went 6-1, a shameful 6-1. He only needed 4, but he like blew it away. Can Tyson get this right? Does Tyson know? I set this up perfectly. I'm a master manipulator. I rule all. I am God, just like an ActRaiser. I am God. You can call me the master. James Bond. There are 25 movies. Over, under 13.5 books.
Now, I've read all these books multiple times. So let me just see if I can think this through on the top of my head. So it starts with Casino Royale. Then I you know what? I'll just say it goes From Russia. No, From Russia with Love's later, but that's one. Man with the Golden Gun's one. Diamonds Are Forever's one. Dr. No. Goldfinger. Thunderball. Quantum of Solace. That's a collection. For Your Eyes Only. Moonraker. Starting to slow down. Living Daylights, or is that just part of the short stories? Because the problem is there's a short story collection. There's 2 short story collections, or I think they're just they're just the one. So I might be like, so close. There's definitely some that I'm forgetting. You know what? I bet you there is, because just off I'm already at 12, and I know that I'm probably missing 1 or 2. I'm gonna say it's over.
What?
I could be.
No way. It's 12. Oh man.
It's 12. See, I literally I was sitting on 12, and I'm like, no, there's got to be one more.
Yeah, that name. I was gonna count. I was gonna count to see on Wikipedia what they're counting.
Living Daylights.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. See.
9,
Okay, so
10,
Casino Royale,
11,
Live and Let Die,
12.
Moonraker, Diamonds Are Forever, From Usher with Love, Doctor No, Goldfinger, For Your Eyes Only, Thunderball, Spy Who Loved Me, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, You Only Live Twice, Man with Golden Gun, Octopussy, Living Daylights, all in one. Then, why don't I see Quantum of Solace? Because they may not be including the... Because, yeah, I don't know. I might be wrong on this one, guys. I got tried to get as close as I could. I tried.
Yeah, you were right there. You were on it. Should have just went with your gut. It was a good over-under, obviously, that I picked there. So, good job, me. Yay.
Yeah.
So, Tyson doesn't get to his 7. I even had We Are the Champions by Queen queued up on my phone, but I guess I'll just delete that now because we don't need that.
Even though I did win, I just didn't hit the bonus. It's like, oh, you didn't hit the bonus. That means you would win nothing.
Yeah, this is like a hardcore Japanese game show. Like with
Yeah, exactly. It's like you got to the lightning round. Oh, but you didn't win the lightning.
But you're
round.
right. You did go 6-2 or 6-1 with a bonus, so you get that. So okay, fine.
I paid my dues.
There you go. So congratulations, Tyson. And as you can see, Lord of the Rings should be on this list because it was a great book series. It's an even better film series. I mean, one of the greatest films of all time. And what's even greater than that is the performance that we saw on that field today. He laid his life on the line. He obviously is in bookstores, and he knew what happened. And you have to give it up for the winner of the first edition of the Books to Movies, the game franchise edition, family fun game. Tyson, the winner.
Read really shows that I'm when I pay attention to something, god dang it, do I half-ass it.
That's it. So cool stuff. So I thought that was a fun, I don't know, something tie-in. I was like, I kind of want to have some fun with this series because
I like it.
I was like, we have to treat this like super respectfully and like these are epic movies. I was like, no, we'll have fun. We're gonna have fun in each one. What is the next one we get to look at? Historical non-fiction famous characters. Neat.
I'm excited.
All right.
I'm excited. It's good to have fun with it because I mean that's what this is about. Like, yeah, Lord of the Rings is one of the biggest movie franchises of all time, and it's super like historic, and we've gushed about it enough. And we opened this before we got into it with me just like or us just like kind of talking about how awesome and amazing this is, and how it's such a like just part of like movie history and cinema history. So we're gonna balance that out with our humor as we always do, because we're not gonna just sit here and just give this thing award after award.
Like there's a reason that this isn't a movie review podcast. Is there like side weird random tangent? So there you go.
Yeah, this is for our
100%.
fun.
Like going back and like listening to this, you're gonna be like, that's kind of funny. I mean, the name it wasn't a very good joke. The name, like it was almost there.
I thought you were trying to spell an acronym of something. No. I thought you were trying to spell.
Sometimes I just like when it's like, I don't know, you get those like weird things where it's like, I saw something somewhere. It was like some video games and they were like board games and they were like named weird stuff, and it's like Family Fun Edition, the franchise edition, the game, and you're like, what?
Yeah, and you're like, why are you giving this so many subtitles?
Like, I just don't understand. Like, I get it. I understand it's an underlying property that you're like expanding upon.
Oh, I know. There's some like PlayStation 4 games that are like anime based, and they're like the high school fun, excellent adventure that goes through your junior high. And you're like, yo, why are you telling me all this? This is not a title.
Far too much. Awesome. So with that,
yeah,
should be a good summer. I think we're playing fantasy games. So if you are listening along, want to play along, Golden Sun is the next one you can grab. We're gonna do 2 parts. I don't know. That might be of content, but if we're talking like an hour and 20 minutes almost on Fellowship, if we have if our games become shorter, ain't a bad thing,
Yeah, and I think we got a lot of the gushing out, so we'll probably have a shorter, more condensed, 2 towers.
They get bigger and better,
but
we have more fun stuff to talk about.
They really do.
Tyson doesn't like Legolas shield surfing. I, on the other hand, love it.
it's the greatest thing that ever happened to movies.
Super. So cool. So with that, did we miss anything?
No, I think we covered everything.
And like, there's like no pressure right now, because if we go back and listen to this and we realize we did miss something, we just talk about it in the next episode. Really, the only pressure comes at the end of like Return of the King. We're like, oh yeah, we forgot to talk about Gandalf.
It's like, yeah, we didn't mention main characters.
We forgot to mention Frodo this whole time. Oops.
It's like, oh, well, shucks.
Yeah.
Can't go back now.
Keep your nose open too if you're listening and going along. And Tyson, fun game to play. Take a drink every time Frodo falls down. You get really drunk.
Oh, I bet. I can imagine.
Falls down a lot. Poor little guy.
Oh, that's all they do is they just tumble.
Yeah. But cool, awesome. Well, my back door's been open. My dog's playing out in the rain, so excited for the mess to go clean up after this podcast. So good job, everyone. Yay! All right. So without further ado. You were going to say something. I keep cutting you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say take care, everybody, and have a good one.
All right. Bye.